The opinions expressed on the Bob Grant program do not necessarily reflect those of WABC Radio or its management. And now, here's Bob Grant.
Let's be heard. Good afternoon, everyone. The telephone lines are open. The number to call in New York, 563-WABC, the same for Connecticut. But if you're in New Jersey, 489-WABC, in a program dedicated to the free and open exchange of ideas and of opinions in the belief that as American citizens, you have a right to hear and to be heard. And what is on your mind this afternoon, huh? What if I go to the telephones right now, real quick, and say hello to our first caller? Catch you off guard? Make you nervous? Make you upset? Well, I don't want to do that. Far be it from me to do that. I'm tempted to every now and then because I have this debate with myself in which I keep saying, well, what are the people really interested in? What do they really want to talk about? Do they know what they want to talk about? Do they know what they care about? Do you know? The newspaper business, which is not too far removed from this business, although there are some obvious disparities, the newspaper business thrives on creating rumors and acting as though the rumors have some substance and reacting to the rumors they themselves create. For example, how absurd of the Daily News, how absurd and all-time low. They ought to go out of business for this one. Actually floating a rumor that David Dinkins has gained national stature, and that there might be a spot for him on the Democratic ticket in 1992. What does that mean? There's only two spots on the ticket, vice president and president. So one or the other, huh? Well, of course, it's a farce, it's a joke, and shame on the Daily News for engaging in that type of cheap tabloid journalism. But I'm glad that I know far in advance that the Democratic Convention will be held at Madison Square Garden here in New York, because our studio is right next door to Madison Square Garden. I'll make arrangements to be away on vacation. I want to make sure I'm far away because the stench coming from the garden will waft up here to the 17th floor and make this otherwise pleasant studio complex totally unsuitable for human habitation. What kind of world do we live in? What kind of city do we live in, huh? I ask this question just about every day. I ask the question, what does the quality of life mean to you? What is the quality of life? I mean, what is it? Is it the automobile you drive? Is it the home you live in? Is it the suit of clothes you wear, the dress you've just put on? Is it where you're going on vacation or how much you spent on your last party? Is that what quality of life means to you? I suggest it means something more, something much more profound. I suggest it means how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your fellow citizen, how you feel about your community, how you feel about your neighborhood, how you feel when you open the door and step outside. Do you like what you see? Do you like what you hear? When you get in your automobile and you drive down the block, do you feel good about what your neighborhood looks like? You feel good about the place where you work? place you do business, your fellow employees. If you take public transportation, how do you feel about the person sitting next to you, the person sitting across from you? Or if you have to stand and hold on to a strap, how do you feel about the other person? Is that a fellow citizen? Is that a countryman of yours? Or are you a stranger amongst strangers? Are you an alien in an alien land? Are you looking over your shoulder furtively, stealing a glance to make sure that someone is not trying to take something out of your pocket or out of your purse? Do you turn a corner with trepidation, fear that there might be someone just around the other side, hitting you on the head, cutting your throat, grabbing your wallet, knocking you down, hurting you, injuring you, killing you? What is the quality of life? How far have we come as a species since we came out of the caves? Isn't that what we were? Cavemen? Isn't that what they said we were? Have we come very far? I mean, you see violence all the time, even with perestroika, even with walls coming down and communist monoliths being overthrown. You look around and you see struggle continues. Will it always be amongst us? You hear a story about a queen's father and his son charged with fatally shooting a teenager because he sold them a lemon Cadillac. You see a photo of a 17-year-old, a lad from Ozone Park. You see his photo because that's the only thing of him you'll ever see, because he's dead. He died. He died because a 47-year-old father shot him. It seems that this 17-year-old sold Natalie and Richard Carbone a 1977 Cadillac several months ago, and the wheels fell off, and these folks, the Carbones, had asked for their money back, and had threatened to sue the 17-year-old, whose name was Vito Ruggiero, would sue him if he didn't comply. But then on Monday night, the younger Carbone vented his frustration at 157th Avenue and 101st Street, approaching Ruggiero, and his cousin, while brandishing bats or sticks. And after a brief struggle, Carbone left. He returned with his father. The elder Carbone shot Vito in the head and chased his friend or his cousin before shooting him in the arm. And the Carbones were arrested, and now they face a murder charge, or at least the father certainly does. But we are on the brink of violence all the time, apparently. And the people who did the shooting, where did it get them? What have they achieved by shooting that fellow? It's a primitive streak we have not rid ourselves of, and perhaps we never will. Perhaps the design of humankind is such that primitive streak cannot be expunged. John?
That just shows you what we're coming to. Two quick things. First of all, in the Daily News today, I read that Cuomo's net worth is about $500,000.
That's a lie.
You and I believe it. I just put on my high boots because the manure is up to my knees right now.
That's a lie, and I can't believe. Not only is it a $500,000, but most of it's in taxable money market funds. Hey, this guy's supposed to be so brilliant.
Tax-exempt bonds.
If it's true,
he's a moron.
If it's true, he's a moron. Yeah.
Bob, as I say, does he actually think we are all that stupid? Is he that arrogant?
Yes. What do you think I've been trying to tell you?
I believe you, but I don't believe. And aside from that, what really teed me off the other day was that Benjamin Hooks is applying to Congress to put some laws through on the books to protect black politicians from harassment.
Yeah.
If you go in politics, LaGuardia said it. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Well, it was Harry Truman.
Cowards.
Okay. Thank you very much, John. I think it was Harry Truman who said it, although somebody might have said it even before that. Jack, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Grant. How you doing? I want to talk about something that's extremely scary, especially the Zodiac Killer, the nut that's going around. Anyway, what kills me the most is what the media writes about him. Here, I'm reading a paper, and they're saying the cops are setting traps. I mean, are they going to drag this guy out? What are they trying to accomplish here? I don't understand. Okay? It says that they're setting traps. So how do you set a trap for a guy like this? And this guy, all he's got to do is pick up a paper and read what they're going to do.
All right. Anything else?
Well, basically, what I'm saying is this. If they're going to try to catch somebody like this particular individual who's supposedly a sick man, I mean, we'll agree on that there, no doubt about it. But what I'm trying to say is, how in the world can you write about something like this, where a man like this could, look at the information, okay?
Yeah.
And then basically, figure it out from there,
Yeah. Thank you very much. Brilliant. WABC, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Men's Roundtable, our get-together today on Wednesday afternoon. Phil, hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant, I'm a resident of Edison, and this weekend we were pleased to receive in the mail our new tax bills, property tax, that is. And as per usual, our taxes went up in the area of $500 to $1,000 for 1 year. This is a town which boasts of $7.3 billion in ratables. That's second in the state only to Atlantic City. And their economy is a little different than ours. This town has corruption, which is legend. I mean, there's no sense going into that. All you have to do is read the local newspapers, and I know you're a resident of New Jersey.
We're losing you, pal. We're losing you.
Sorry. I said corruption in this town. I says it's legend, and I know you're a resident of New Jersey, and all you have to do is read the local papers, and you'll see it every day. Someone is being indicted, investigated, or whatnot. In addition to all of this, we suffer from, I know, a problem that's close to your heart, in that we have a dual office-holding mayor. We have a mayor that's a state senator, as well as Mayor of Edison.
Paternity?
That's correct.
Yeah. What a jerk. He's a double jerk. He's a jerk as a mayor. He's a jerk as a state senator. You're a double jerk, Paternity.
He's in the position of voting for tax changes and changes in programs that are going to affect.
By the way,
Edison.
he supported Jimmy the First Al Florio.
I happen to be in attendance at the inauguration of Dr. Mayor Senator Paternity at Town Hall on January 1st when Governor Florio swore him in. So I was there, and I've been active in Republican politics now for the last 3 years. With this tax increase, and he being a dual office holder and voting for the changes in the programs, he's in the position of voting for programs which is going to hurt his own town, such as the local takeover of teachers' pensions, which puts him in a very interesting situation. Why I'm calling you, sir, is we have committed, that is the Republican Committee, the Republican Party, to assist homeowners in Edison to file appeals. And we have an organization called CUTS, which is Citizens Upset with the Tax Situation, to help them file appeals. I would like, now we'll do what we have to do here, but we would really appreciate it if you could, and I know you're getting involved in New Jersey tax problems, if you could somehow appear or lend your support to our organization. It will be around the end of July. I know maybe this is not the time to ask, but I will leave my name and number with your producer.
No, you can write to the studio. You can write to us. Don't leave your name and number with the producer.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's 29 minutes before 4.
It was difficult to talk about that day.
I know.
But I told my family how I want my final arrangements handled when I pass away.
That's lovely.
I also told them I had Inter-America life insurance.
Oh.
The cost of this guaranteed acceptance life insurance is within my budget. And it will help my family pay for the expenses I'll leave behind.
Well, I'm a public affairs consultant. What I do is I work for a nonprofit foundation in New York City. And what I do is help organize funding from the state at times or from other private foundations for the work that we do.
All right. So why do you say that the Florio plan, as outrageous as it is the only cure?
Well, I didn't read that headline. And, you know, I'm not agreeing that it is the only cure, and I have a lot of problems with what the governor is doing. But what he's doing on the public school refinancing is unique, and it's fair, and it shifts the burden equally in society where it hasn't been before.
David Sachs, you're quoted as saying it will murder a middle class. You're a champion of the middle class. You and your wife, you make the case, have been working very hard. You have 2 children. You moved where you moved because you wanted them to go to a good school. How do you feel about all this?
Well, like Stephen, I didn't write that headline. I think the plan is going to hurt a lot of modest people in the middle class because it's too grandiose. It's been hurried through legislature too quickly. And oddly, it seems to be hitting Republican regions worse than it's going to hit Democratic regions, regardless of the fact that a couple of the state's most affluent areas are Democratic. So I think that has elements of unfairness and malevolence, which I'm aware of because I feel victimized by.
Well, that's a very serious appraisal of the situation. Here we're told from the governor's own office that he had to do it. He had to close a deficit. But there's another aspect to this tax rise which seems to be even more upsetting to most people. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, what do you say to that, Stephen?
Well, I can sympathize with David because nobody wants new taxes. But what is unique about Governor Florio is that he has really taken a lead. And something that I haven't seen in really a lot of politicians in a long time. He went out, he saw a lot of things that weren't working properly, like public school financing, and the state Supreme Court told him that it was unconstitutional, and you had to fix it because it discriminated against the poor. And he did it. And he did it fast, and he didn't sit on it and wait to do it for 4 or 5 or 6 years. He did it in less than 6 months, and that's amazing.
Stephen, you seem to laud the alacrity in which it was done, but David, you suggest that he wanted to sneak it through as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's what I believe, actually. I think it is refreshing, as Stephen says in his article, that we're not just getting, for example, 8 years of Ronald Reagan's temporizing and procrastinating on things like, for example, acid rain. But I think the governor is much too ambitious and is pushing a messianic program through much too quickly without making clear to people who are involved what it's going to mean to them. I think it's crazy that we have to be penalizing certain school districts in the state when we're raising all this money at the same time by doubling, in some cases, the income tax.
And David, I share your concern, too, about the administration of those funds. Because as I noted in my article today, that there are notorious political machines still existing in some municipalities. And it worries me that the money will not be channeled to the right people, to get to the children, the needy children in inner city schools that need these things the most. So I just really hope that they can really watch where that's going, and as you put it in your article very nicely, just hope that it doesn't fall into some bottomless pit for some other people to enjoy.
You had the first word, Stephen. How about the last word from you, David?
I'm just a little cynical of some of the pork barreling I see in regard to this bill. The governor seems to be trying to throw some money back at very affluent areas in Bergen County, which have Democratic representatives or a Democratic senator. I think that there's an unwelcome, real political pork barrel edge to the whole program.
Thank you both. Thank you, gentlemen. And, of course, the battle has been joined. And even though the tax bill is the law, the effects, the impact will be felt for a long time to come, argued about for a long time to come. And I thank you both for stating your positions this afternoon.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard Stephen Dinstirian and David Sachs. Now, David Sachs, of course, his views are very consistent with mine. And of all the people arguing against the Florio ripoff, David Sachs, I think, has made the best argument of all and the fairest of all. He says, my wife and I live in a pleasant New Jersey suburb that we chose for its excellent public schools for our two young children. We both work. We don't have much spare cash. We sure haven't noticed that we're wealthy. But Governor Jim Florio's school funding program, which has now become law, designates our school district as one of 150 wealthy districts targeted to lose all basic state funding in the next few years. For our district, with a current budget of $20.6 million, that will mean nearly $800,000 lost in direct school aid, plus $2.4 million in new costs for teachers' pensions and Social Security that the state used to pay. At the same time, my wife and I can look forward to paying a lot more state tax, since we may, together, by dint of effort, earn more than $70,000 a year. He says, for years we've sneered at the Republican Party claim that they, not the Democrats, are the real protectors of the middle class. Suddenly, we're not so ready to sneer. We're stunned to find ourselves worrying about our local school under a Democratic governor. We think that people like us, and there are plenty of us, are being left out of Mr. Florio's grandiose plan. So my wife and I look forward to voting Mr. Florio out of office in 3.5 years. He's making it too tough for us to be Democrats.
Greetings, Bob. I just want to tip my hat to you and say that Il Supremo satire yesterday was absolutely delicious. I don't know who that comic was you had on there, but he was great.
Well, his name is Jay Diamond, and ordinarily he's in the Bellevue Section 8. No, really.
He's brilliant.
Well, he is brilliant, but he's also totally mashugana.
Yeah.
But that's probably why he's so brilliant. So every now and then they let him out. He gets what is known as a 36-hour pass. They won't give him a 48-hour pass. They give him a 36-hour at-large pass.
You know, the incredible thing is that there are people who didn't get it. You know, they actually thought it was him.
Well, the next time he gets a release, I'm going to have him on again. Whenever he gets a release, we have him in.
And listen, Bob, I had an idea to kill two birds with one stone.
Yes.
Why don't we find out Thomas Trantino's zodiac sign, and then we can get him together with a Zodiac killer on the proper day and waiting for the both of them, and then do two jobs at once.
You know, I think it's an absolute outrage. It's an obscenity. It's an absolute obscenity that the families and the friends of Gary Tedesco, for example, have to be subjected to this indignity year after year of seeing this fiend, this murderer, this predator come up for parole.
Why is this man still breathing on this earth? You know, he should have been put out a long time ago.
Absolutely. Well, because he benefited from a Supreme Court decision.
What do you think motivates these parole people to even seriously consider letting this animal out?
I think what motivates them is, first of all, most of them are mashpuka. They are, for example, one of the members of the parole board is a daughter of John, Mr. Nepotism Russo, state senator from Toms River, Dover Township, Union, Ocean County. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Well, Johnny Russo, big nepotistic artist, has about 6 people in his family at least on the public payroll.
Yeah.
One of those people is his daughter that he engineered into the parole board job. She what does she know from paroles? What does she know? What does she know?
Well,
she's just one of many. What do any of them know?
But they have to be familiar with the gruesome details of this case. I mean, it's you know, you don't turn in your humanity.
Well, so far they haven't. Wait a minute. So far they haven't paroled anybody yet. They haven't paroled Trantino. Remember that.
But remember last time how close it was?
Well, it was, and the minute the public forgets, the minute attention is diverted, they will let that scum out.
Yeah, it's like as soon as
the only possible consolation in that case is what would happen to him if he did get out. He might be better off where he is.
Yeah, but what will they do to the first of us, to us first?
On WABC, 10 minutes before 4, Lois. Hello. Are you there, Lois?
Hi, Bob.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say you were talking about that article in the New York Times, and you often say that we get the government we deserve by not voting. If you went a little further in that article, as I'm sure you did, that David Sachs, he makes a statement that he neither voted for Mr. Florio nor for the opposition. So he really can't complain too much. And the ones who
No, he can't complain. I don't buy that a person should just sit by silently whether they voted or whether they didn't.
Well, that's true.
But maybe I read the article wrong. I could have sworn he said he and his wife were Democrats who voted for Florio.
No.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to quote him.
You are right. Yes, I'm sorry. You are right. It was the other person who was opposed to who was for Florio's plan. He said we didn't vote.
Well, of course he didn't. He lives in New York.
Aha. Oh, okay.
Stephen Dinstirian lives in New York.
Oh, I thought he worked in New York but lived in New Jersey.
No.
And when he says Mr. Florio is practicing politics in a refreshingly open way, pitting rich against poor.
Well, that's
class warfare.
Yeah. So, for the record, let it be shown that Mr. Sachs did vote for Jim Florio.
You were right.
His wife did vote for him, and they regret it very much.
Right.
I thank you for the call.
Okay.
It's Bob checking in. What an unusual name. Bob, hello.
Hi. I'd just like to ask whether you're familiar with the State Department giveaway of the 5 islands up in...
Oh, we've been talking about that for years and years.
Yeah, I know.
And years.
It never seems to get anywhere, and they keep asking me for money to control the situation, but it never goes...
Well, thus far, the islands haven't been exchanged, as far as I know.
Yeah, well, they say that the State Department is just about to go along with it, and our friend Secretary of Baker is all for it.
When George Shultz was the Secretary of State, they kept saying that Shultz was all for it. It didn't go through under Shultz. I don't know whether it'll go through under Baker. What do you want from me? I mean, they keep talking about those little putrid islands up there. They want them, let them have them. I don't know what value those islands have anyway.
Well, they apparently have
strategic value.
Yes. Strategic
what's
value
on there? Do we have an airfield on any of those islands?
As far as petroleum, etc.
Petroleum.
Yep.
There's petroleum on those islands? I didn't know that.
That's what they tell me.
I'm going to wildcat a rig. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Bye-bye.
Hello, Al. This is Bob Grant.
Yes, Bob. If Mandela takes over South Africa, the first thing he'll do with a socialistic scheme is to bankrupt that country. And who is going to have to bail him out but us in the United States at the backs of our taxpayers? Also, in a Russian bailout they're talking about now, in World War II, we gave Lend-Lease to Red Russia. How did they show their appreciation? By initiating the Cold War. And if they want to get out from under, let them pull out of all their satellite countries. They'll have enough money to support themselves.
Thank you very much, Al. On WABC, let's say hello to Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Bob. Officer Rogers again from Nutley. Again, Bob, Thomas Trantino, he's up for parole. We're doing everything in our power to stop him from getting released. We did come across new information that we are going to be releasing very shortly regarding the fact that he is not the model prisoner the state says he is. We've called for an investigation of the Corrections Department here in New Jersey based on allegations that we received in writing from an inmate that there was alleged use of drugs, use of state property, use of a state car, conjugal visits, etc. The people of New Jersey, as well as the nation, Bob, should be outraged if this man is released. And I was with Chief Voto and his family the other night, and I must say that their hearts are broken. The chief has had a stroke. They actually believe, Bob, that the man's going to be released. So we need your help once again. We need your listeners to respond as they did last time, or it's going to be a real sad day in this state and in this country.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Bob.
It's Richie checking in. Here's Richie. Hello, Richie.
Bob, I was on the radio. I was listening yesterday. I heard that ridiculous article about the family of the 6 black people. I may not have the facts exactly right. It was an article that came on the radio. 6 black families are filing a lawsuit against the public education system because black studies are not being taught in the public school system. Was that basically what it was about?
Believe it or not, as insane as it sounds, it's true.
Well, my answer is this, Bob. I would tell those black families, I would sit them down and tell them, listen, why don't you tell your children to leave the basketballs home, the boom boxes home, go to school and sit down, sit still in the chair, don't be dancing around and watching other things. Learn basic arithmetic, English, science, so you can become a productive member of our society. I'm of Armenian background. When I went to school, all through college, all through law school, I didn't ask anybody to teach me about the Armenian culture. If I want to learn about that, I can get on a plane and go back there. I can do it in my spare time. There certainly is a time and a place for everything. If you want to get an education and get yourself ahead in this world, the right way to do it is to study those.
Sheldon, hello.
Mr. Grant.
Yes?
Right, I got on so early. First of all, I spoke to you last about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, speaking about Mandela's visit. So
we can hardly hear you. We're losing.
Can you hear me now, sir?
That's better. That's better.
Okay. First of all, I want to say it's a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, what's on your mind, Sheldon?
Okay. I'd like to know, I hear a constant diatribe on your part against, say, people like Sharpton and Maddox and even Jesse Jackson. I would like to know, and I'm not here to argue with you, sir. To get
not
you
much.
Right.
No, you're not here to argue with me.
No, I'm absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
But I'd like to know, what is it that you find fundamentally wrong with the message that they may say?
Well, what is their message?
Well, I think...
Do they all have the same message? You've lumped them all together. They all have the same... First of all, I ask you 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Do they all have the same message? And whatever their messages may be, what is it?
Well, I think basically they, as well as the other, and I say this in quotes, black leaders, criticism of the United States has been hypocrisy and inconsistencies of, say, the justice system, as well as the way the government has treated black, not only blacks, but other minorities.
You know, you're right. We are not fair. As a matter of fact, with all these affirmative action programs and all these cockamamie special programs, we are treating blacks better, putting them in a category above non-blacks. You're absolutely right.
Well, I would ask you another question, sir. I haven't seen anything in United States history that would demonstrate that left to the white power structure's own devices.
White power structure. That's interesting. I didn't know we had a white power structure. I thought we had elected officials. And what would you call what we have in New York City, for example? What would you call it, a black power structure because we have a black mayor? I don't understand.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, I see. Well, why would it not be a black power structure if we have a black mayor, but it would be a white power structure if we have a white governor or whatever the case may be?
That's a fair question, sir. But looking back through history, starting with George Washington...
Well, listen, would you stop living in the past? You see, I can't communicate with you because I'm here in the year 1990. Dealing with the problems that we have in 1990 and the issues that are facing us in 1990. But you want to deal with life as though it's 1799, and that seems to be your problem.
No,
you're wallowing in the past.
No,
and yeah, you are. You are wallowing in the past.
As a matter of fact, any psychiatrist, any judge of history knows that the past is a prerequisite for what happens in the future.
No, it isn't a prerequisite at all. You don't know the terminology that you're using.
Well, I beg to
if you want to learn from the past, if you want to learn from history, that's one thing. But if you want to treat the past as though it's the present, then that is a very neurotic condition.
All right, then let me ask you another question, sir, before you move on. I don't want to occupy your time because...
Don't worry, I'll conduct the program. You just conduct yourself on the phone, Shulman. Let me worry about the program.
Yes, sir, I appreciate that very much. But has there been anything that society in general has proven that if government did not ride roughshod over minority rights, which includes, if I may finish, sir, which includes the right of a minority opinion going to the First Amendment and so forth and through all of that, has there been anything that has demonstrated that if left to the own devices that the American public would allow dissenting point of view, dissenting opinion to thrive or to enjoy the full benefits thereof?
That's why we had the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments.
But that was established those particular amendments were established at the end of the Civil War, sir.
Well, I know that's when they. I know that's. Well, wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
I thought you wanted to deal with the past only insofar as it had an impact on the present.
Yes, there's no question.
All right, okay. Let me ask you a very simple question.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to be precise. But when were you born?
1953, sir.
All right, you were born 1 year before Brown versus Topeka, Kansas School Board.
22 years.
You have benefited from all these Supreme Court decisions. You have benefited from all of these governmental programs. You were never a slave, let alone suffered under Jim Crow laws. Okay, thank you. Good luck. On WABC, Bob. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Grant. I'd like to. Hello.
Yes.
I'd like to borrow on that prodigious memory tank of yours. We quite often take alliteratives in current news events, like Mason, Maddox, and Sharpton. And of course, in sports, we had tickets to Evers the Chance. And I was thinking about during the second Roosevelt campaign back in the 30s when Roosevelt used the alliterative Martin, Barton, and Fish. Now, I know that Martin was later, it was Joe Martin who was Speaker of the Republican
Right, from Massachusetts, right.
And I know that Fish was Hamilton Fish Sr., who's still alive here in New York State.
Right.
But who was Barton, sir?
He was from Connecticut.
Was he a Republican?
They were all Republicans, of course.
Was he in the House?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
On WABC, it's 416. Carrie, hello.
Yes, I was hoping that you could maybe clear up what seems to be somewhat of a foreboding mystery for me. Recently, I read an article that was alluding to the fact that there may be some kind of clandestine activities which would result in maybe it's some kind of a world government, like a large corporation. This article reminded me of a conversation I had with a very wealthy man years ago, in which he brought...
Why did you have a conversation with a very wealthy man? How did he happen to have a conversation with you? Are you also very wealthy?
I'm not myself, but I worked for... It's not...
Why did you have a deep conversation with a very wealthy man?
He was a client that I was working with.
What do you mean a client?
The reason I worked...
What do you mean a client?
I used to help to put on sales meeting shows, and it was for his company.
Was he really a very wealthy man, or do you imagine that he was
he owned a diamond company. Whatever it was...
why do you seem defensive when I question you? I'll tell you why, because you're a fake, a phony, a fraud, a cheat, a liar, a pretender, a prevaricator, a posturer. That's why, and a sham.
Can I ask the question? The reason I mentioned he was wealthy only is because he seemed to have to know something that I would know.
Oh, now you think he was wealthy. First you say he was a very wealthy man, now you think he was wealthy.
No, the point is this, it's not really important. The point where I want to ask is this.
Well, if it's not important, why did you say I was having a conversation with a very wealthy man?
I was.
You know why? Because you're trying to impress the audience.
No, listen, it's not really important. What I want to ask you is this. He brought up a topic of a call, he called it the Trilateral Commission, okay? And it was
How long ago did this conversation take place?
I would say this happened about between 8 and 10 years ago. And he mentioned that it was he believed very strongly that this commission would, is really what was all about, that somehow that it was going to be a world power. My question is this. What I found out...
A commission is going to be a world power?
That it's
a commission is going to be a world power?
And people didn't know that this commission...
Hey, look, I'm sick and tired of hearing from freaks like you talking about the Trilateral Commission. The Trilateral Commission is not a clandestine outfit.
Yeah.
It's not a nefarious organization. It doesn't work in the middle of the night to try to steal the world. It is a group of people that came into being during the Jimmy Carter years of American bankers, Japanese business people, and West European leaders who felt that the only way for security in the world was to establish links of economic mutuality between Western Europe, Japan, and the United States.
Right.
Thank you, you jerk. It's 4:19 on WABC. Earl. Hello, Earl.
Oh, yeah. From a black man, this is a black man from a black man's point of view.
I can't understand you. Would you speak up, please?
From a black man, from a black man's point of view, I think it's important that we about the history thing.
What history? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about about the lawsuit that we're talking about, the black.
Oh yes, claiming their constitutional rights are being violated. Yes.
Yes. No, I'm saying that we're not trying to change history. We're trying to restore history.
Restore it.
Yes.
Where is it written in the Constitution that you have to be taught history? Where? Show me where in the Constitution it says that.
No, but it's important. Why isn't it school then? Why they
No. You didn't respond to my question. Where does it? Show me where in the Constitution it says that.
It doesn't say it. No.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But it's important.
All right, it doesn't say that. Then how? If it doesn't say, if it doesn't say that, pal, then how can a constitutional right be violated?
Oh, you got me on that. But still, why they got it in school then? Why they got it in school? I mean, so if you said something about the past ain't.
Oh, it's sad. It's sad. Listen, my son, you have a right to live.
Yeah.
You're as good as I am. Okay. Thank you.
But it's good about the past.
On WABC, these pathetic, inferior-feeling people, because they feel inferior, they act inferior, and it's too bad because they're not. Jim, hello.
How you doing, Bob? This is a first-time caller, and I've listened to you for many years. I'm calling as a frustrated parent and a frustrated teacher, and I identify very much with David Sachs. What I'd like to tell you this, my children and the people in my community in Essex County, because of Jim Florio, are going to lose over $600,000. As a parent, I'm upset about this. The interesting thing is, over 2 decades, we've been paying 60% or more to the county and to the town of Newark, and maybe 40% to our own 2 little schools. Now, what we get for the 40% will be less. As a teacher, I'm telling you this, for the last 2 decades, we've heard about T&E. We've heard about all kinds of input into the urban sector, money flowing in. That sounds familiar because it's coming back again. I have to say this to you. I voted for Florio because I was influenced by the NJEA. Wisely enough, my wife did not. She's also a teacher. So we canceled out the vote, I think. I got to tell you this, though, that the last 8 years with Kane and Cooperman, we have seen success in the classroom. We have seen things polished up. I think at this point we are at the edge of an abyss. And as far as I'm concerned, New Jersey, the educational standards are going to drop. And I don't know what to do about it, other than maybe going up and down the blocks before the next election and just hold in front of the good citizens around me the names of all the Democrats that I think voted for this stupid plan that will make us become the lower state in the union as far as education goes.
Well, you're a wise young man, Jim. The fact is, in checking, just to make sure that I didn't misstate, I thought maybe there were 1 or 2 Democrats that had the courage to vote against the Florio plan, and you know what? There wasn't. They all went along. So if he's a Democrat and he's your assemblyman, then he voted for it. If he's a Democrat and he's your state senator, he voted for it. I wish I could tell you otherwise, but the record indicates that they all went along, even though many of them had reservations, but they went along.
The sad thing is that the NJEA have put themselves in a position here to, in many ways, destroy the whole teaching profession in the state because they went with Florio.
Well, that's the great irony, because they were staunch Florio supporters, and yet here they are, very upset, understandably very angry, because they can see, better than anybody, they can see the travesty of this legislation, of this bill. They can see that. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
It's 17 minutes before 5.
Brian from Inwood. Bob, you've asked a question before, and you just asked it. This has prompted me to call. Why the double standard between black and white in the news media? And also you asked at past times, what is racism? This is just my opinion. I think that there is a double standard in the news media because I believe that most of the media that's on the political left, liberal, are basically in their heart of hearts racist. They're the true racists of society. And I'll tell you what I base that on. What is racism? Racism is when you treat people differently based solely on the color of their skin or for other reasons, religious reasons or what have you. Now, the news media constantly treats blacks different and evaluates them with different measuring rods than they do whites. Why do they do this? Obviously, they must feel that blacks are inferior to whites, or they would treat them the same way. Now, a perfect case and example is what you brought up at the beginning of the show, David Dinkins. When I read the same article in the Daily News that was propagating the myth that David Dinkins could be the next president or possibly vice president of the United States, I fell off my chair laughing. I thought it was very funny. But when you think about this, what are they really saying? And what did they say as far as Jesse Jackson is concerned? What they're really saying here is this. Here is David Dinkins, a man that never showed enough leadership quality to even become mayor of New York, but he was pushed for mayor of New York. He was basically a bureaucrat all his life, appointed to most of his positions. As mayor, he is shown to be spineless in that he cannot even enforce a judge's order to disperse a bunch of shakedown artists who are trying to extort money from honest workers in grocery stores in Flatbush, Brooklyn. So this is what he has shown, and yet the news media, had David Dinkins been white, this never would have occurred to them. But being the racist that they are, and I believe this, and it comes out every now and then in people like Jimmy Breslin when they lose their tempers, this racism comes to the surface. Being that they won't treat black people the same as white, they don't expect the same. If David Dinkins was a white person, nobody would have ever dreamt for a moment. It would have been laughable to mention his name for president of the United States. But they feel that blacks, being inferior, have to be given extra percentage points to get into college, extra leeway to get a job.
You use the phrase being inferior.
They believe that blacks are inferior.
Okay, they believe it. You're not saying it's true. You're saying they believe it.
No, you know something, Bob? I'm going to tell you something. I don't give a damn what anybody. I told you.
I'm not trying to trip you up. I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering if you realize what you said.
What I meant to say, I don't know exactly whether I slipped up in a word there. What I mean and what my heart of hearts means is this: I have never considered anybody to be inferior.
Okay, so you're
attributing
what you're attributing this attitude is an attribution to the media.
To the left, even left-wing intellectuals seem to have the same pandering, plantation-like mentality when they deal with minorities. They seem to feel that it's up to them to protect minorities.
They have that paternalistic attitude.
No doubt about it, and I think that's racism.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Hey, Cy is checking in right here. Hello, Cy.
Hello, Mr. Grant.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I've been listening to your show for a couple of months now, and I'd like to question your tactic about the show. What I mean is...
Tactic?
Yeah, tactic. What I mean is, as soon as a person comes on, no matter what he's going to say, if he starts congratulating you and appealing to your fine qualities as being a wise man, you immediately start tripping him and cutting him off and you know, mocking him every 2 seconds. And if someone comes on and starts giving you a hard time, you become lenient with him. And I wonder, you know, what are you trying to achieve here?
I'm not trying to achieve anything, pal. I've nothing to achieve. I'm just being myself, and I don't like when people are phonies. I don't like if they butter me up in order to stick a shiv in my ribs.
Well, I don't think anybody has to butter you up. I think that people come on the show and if
well, you're right. You're right. They don't
that,
have to butter me up, but they do.
Why do they have to butter you up?
Ask them. The next time somebody calls and does that, you call immediately and ask them. By the way, where are you from, pal?
What do you mean?
I mean, where did you make your entry into the world?
Where?
Yes.
In Israel.
I see. Thank you. It's 7 minutes before 5.
I got a little complaint, and it's not about you. It's about the guys or the people that handle the incoming calls at your program. I've been trying to get in to talk to you since May. And in fact, this call that I made now, it took me 6 consecutive calls to get in. And here's what happened. The phone rings. It's not a busy signal. They pick it up and click it down immediately. And it did this 6 times this time. Back in May, I really wanted to talk to you. And I kept trying since then, at least 2 or 3 times a week. And I always seem to get that. Now, I don't know whether that's because the call is coming from New Jersey or not. But I thought I'd tell you that.
All right, Steve. No harm done. I'm glad you told me.
Fine, Bob.
Thank you.
Have a
Steve.
nice day.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, Steve told me that. James, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob. I'm from Rockaway Park. I wanted to comment, make 2 comments on the Keith Mandelo's. His mother was interviewed by Tony Brown last week, and a caller called up yesterday and said that Tony made some comments saying that she should have put her arm around someone. Well, that was a lie. He didn't say it. It was a caller that said it. And, I just thought it was a bad thing for that caller to call up and give that erroneous fact, or comment, rather. My second comment is on the Geraldo show. I watched it yesterday where they had Sharpton and company on. And if you were objective, you could see that they exposed themselves as fools and liars. One comment, one statement that this lawyer made, Colton Moore, he said they had first Geraldo introduced a teacher, Fred McCrae, who led his students past the boycott. And then Colton Moore and Mason brought up the idea that he was a former addict and he shouldn't be teaching. Well, what I would have said if I was there, well, then does that mean Herbert Daughtry, being a former convict, shouldn't be marching for rights at all? I mean, and the other thing that they said that was really ridiculous. Roy Innesmith made a comment about Sharpton and company never say anything about black-on-black crime, and then Sharpton and his gang, they just passed that off. They didn't say anything, and I really thought it was. I mean, if you look at it objectively, you could see that they were fools.
You're an intelligent, honest, decent guy, and it's a pleasure to get a call from you. As far as what you said earlier about the Tony Brown situation, that happens many times. It's happened to me where a person, a caller, will make a statement, and then later someone will say that I made it. It happens. Not all the time because people are malicious, but because people get confused. So maybe it was an honest mistake, but you're a decent guy to point it out, and I thank you, sir.
Okay, Bob. Bye-bye.
It's Frank. Hello, Frank.
Hello, Bob.
Yes.
I heard there was a move afoot in New Jersey called Hands Across New Jersey, the intent of which would be to recall our fabulous Governor Florio. What I'm looking for is some further information on it, if you have it, or any of your listeners.
Well, first of all, to recall is virtually impossible. They're not so much interested in a recall because that would be a real long shot. What they'd like to do is get some of these taxes rolled back. That's what they'd like to do. I mean, sure, they'd like to recall. I'd like to recall. I'd like to fire the guy. I'd like to say, hey, you jerk, get out of there. But there's no possibility to recall.
With them and get
Hands Across New Jersey?
Yes.
How come you want to get in touch with them?
If they have anything to do to try and roll these things back or recall or fire or whatever, I would like to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, that's good. You keep listening to Bob Grant Show, and sooner or later, or probably sooner rather than later, you'll find out how to be a part of it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I just wonder, some of these calls, maybe I'm getting suspicious after having done 2,648,221 Bob Grant shows. But when people call the way the gentleman who was just on the line called, it almost sounds like a set-up call. Okay, George, you call, and you say, how do you get in touch with Hands Across New Jersey? Now, Hands Across New Jersey is a night... Well, I'll tell you more later. WABC, New York. Ooh, it's 5 o'clock.
It was about 7 p.m. We were standing in front of the restaurant waiting to be seated when a large Lincoln pulled up. And on the dashboard of this Lincoln was a large sign that said New Jersey Motor Vehicle Department. with a parking permit on it. Well, this gentleman pulled into the first spot, which is reserved for the handicapped. The insignia was clearly marked there. He got out of the car like the law was his oyster. He made his own law and walked into the restaurant.
Huh.
So it makes me wonder whether our New Jersey officials are immune to the law, or do they not have to respect the law? It's only for the rest of us.
Well, they're not supposed to be immune to the law, but obviously this guy was.
He thought he was.
Well, did he get a ticket?
No, he did not, unfortunately.
Do you have his license number?
Yes, I do. I jotted down the license number and the permit number on the New Jersey motor vehicle sign.
What have you done with his information?
Well, I called the governor's office, which just really infuriated me. And they told me that if I would send a letter and sign it with my name and address, that they would look into it. And I haven't done it yet. My hesitation is that, knowing New Jersey politics, that when I go to register my car the next time, I might be given a very difficult time.
You really think they would do that, huh?
No, I guess I do, because that's the only thing that's holding me back.
It would be against the law for them to do that to you. You realize that?
Yes, I understand that. But I don't know how much the law means to our New Jersey officials.
I'll tell you what you do. Send me the letter that you would have sent to them.
Okay.
Just send it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what?
Yes.
I will find out who that person is. But you must have all the pertinent facts. The date, the place, the time. Okay?
I have all of those facts.
You sound like a legitimate, straightforward, decent guy to me. Bob, send it to me.
Yes, I will.
Special attention. Bob Grant, special attention. And I will find out who the skunk was. And in a week or so, I will mention his name on the radio.
Terrific.
Because anybody fooling around with the taxpayers' money, that becomes my business, and that becomes your business. How dare they do that?
That's how I feel.
Okay, Bob.
Can you switch me to someone who'll give me the address of where to send this letter?
No big deal. Bob Grant, 2 Penn Plaza.
2 Penn, right.
New York, 10121. Make sure you put WABC Radio. WABC Radio, right either above my name or below my name.
Will do.
Okay?
Thank you for speaking to me.
Thank you for being a good citizen, Bob.
Bye.
Wayne, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hi, Bob. I'm a black gentleman from Connecticut, and I just have a couple of comments about affirmative action. Recently, I decided that I would like to get into the broadcasting business. So, of course, I did what I had to do. I went to school and that sort of thing. Well, I graduated. Graduated second out of my class, no less. But when it came time for me to go and apply, to radio stations and that sort of thing, I was told, well, now when you're applying, when you make your first phone call, make sure you don't somehow you tell them that you're black, you don't tell them you're a minority. And that was, to me, that was like a cold slap in the face, because suddenly, here I am, well, yes, I would like a job, sure, but not just because I'm black, but because I think I'm a very talented person. And I spoke to also a couple people affiliated with the NAACP.
Yes.
And not about this, but about affirmative action.
Yes.
And they practically wanted to beat me up because I proposed this. I said, when you have, the reason why I don't agree with affirmative action is simple because of this. You have, say, a white person from any other neighborhood that works, okay, busts his butt working and to send his child to school, get an education, okay? That child applies to college and has very high scores on their entry exams and is denied because a black person with a lower score is accepted. Now, my question is this: how can you tell this white person, this white man, that his daughter or son, can't get in because, well, we have to balance the color and everything. Now, how can you tell him that's fair? There's no way you can do that. There is no way you can defend that. It's just not fair. Now, and when that happens to someone, there's no way that you can't tell me the next time this person sees a black person that he is not going to have any animosity, or because there's no matter how you slice it, this guy got screwed. His child, has been shafted. And that's why I don't agree with affirmative action. I mean, of course, it was the best that they could come up with at the time when it was put in place. And it was needed, yes. But I mean, I just feel that you shouldn't have to lower the standards of something in order to give other people a shot.
Well, you're a breath of fresh air. I'll tell you, I'm very impressed with you. I don't want to sound like I'm patronizing you, and I hope you don't think I am.
I've been listening to you for a long time now, and you're a fair-minded guy.
Well, I can't say enough how impressed I am with what you've said, and I hope that someday, before it's too late for all of us, that your type of thinking permeates the whole community. Because if it does, then how can anybody have any resentment? How can they have any malice?
Right. And the thing that gets me is it's so simple, but yet it seems no one thought of this. I mean, I know I'm no genius. This just dawned on me and no one else.
Well,
I mean, come on.
No, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Wayne, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, I want to respond to that gentleman that spoke about withdrawing government support for public television. I think you'll agree that public television does much more than bring us people like Bill Moyers, whether you like him or not. I'd like to remind you that in June, when public television broadcast the Ring, Wagner's Ring cycle, they were surprised by the fact that in the New York area alone, you had over 1 million people tuning in. People who could never have afforded to go into the opera house to hear those performances. And also, many of the musical programs, the dramatic programs, give the public at large a view that they would never have, because that commercial television never brings us anything like that anymore. Don't you agree?
Well, the reason they don't bring the public that is because the public, for the most part, is totally illiterate or partially illiterate. They are primarily peasants, scavons, who really can't abide anything that is uplifting, anything that has any literary value, that has artistic, intrinsic qualities. They want